Hi. So welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to our discussion on the key issues we need to focus on in order to pass the strategic case study examination. Now, the strategic case study examination is the last paper that you are expected to write as per the syllabus structure of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana because of the nature of how the exams is. The reason is that when writing the strategic case study exams or in the strategic case study exams, you are likely to apply your knowledge from previous studies in all the subjects. Like, for instance, you're going to be applying some concepts from management accounting in level 2. You need to bring in some concept of financial management also in level 2. You need to bring in some issues about corporate reporting in level 3, that is ratio analysis, evaluation of financial statements and all that. You need to bring some knowledge there up. Then also you need to bring some knowledge coming in from other subjects based on the way the examiner is going to be structuring the question. So strategic case study is expected to be the final paper that you write. In other words, by the time you are writing strategic case study, you must have written corporate reporting, you must have looked at advanced audit and assurance, and definitely you are in level 3. So you would have done management accounting, financial management, and other subjects, because you're going to be using the knowledge from there in order to greatly answer the questions in strategic case study. Now, let me share my thoughts briefly before we go into the key modules, key concept that we need to understand. Let me share with you a couple of things that you need to take into consideration about the strategic case study exams. Number one is that this is largely going to be a written paper. What it means is that you're going to be writing a lot at the end of the day. Yes, even though there's going to be some computational aspect within 25 to 30% mark question, there's going to be some computational aspect in the exams. Largely, we're going to be dealing with issues about written and comment areas. That is going to be about 70% of the syllabus. For that reason, before you go to the exam hall or in the exam hall, you have to pay attention to a number of things. Your handwriting must be okay, must be good. You need to make sure that you work on your grammar, your English, and all that is very critical, because like I tell you all the time, the chief examiner has raised concern about students' grammar, students' expression, students' handwriting, and the eligibility of what students write at the end of the day in that case. Because this is a written paper, you want to make sure that you work on these things as we head into the exams. Now, depending on the time you are watching this video, chances are the pre-scene is a few days to be out, or it's already out, that we are looking out for. And before you get into the pre-scene to understand what the industry is about, what the organization is about, the structure of the organization, and everything you need to understand about the organization, there are key issues that you need to focus on. There are key background that you must understand in that case. So I'm going to share on my screen with you, just from my iPad, the few things that you need to take into consideration and know about when it comes to dealing with strategic case study. So you're going to see on my screen in a moment the issue about the key things that we need to focus on relating to strategic case study. That is showing right now on my screen. So this is a document that is available already to all our students doing strategic case study, or students doing the strategic case study under my mentorship. And everything I'm going to share here, we've already shared the documents with you guys. So it is for those of you studying directly under my mentorship. This is going to be just maybe again a repetition of it, because we've discussed this thoroughly already in class. But if you are new, you are not studying under my mentorship, but you are writing the case study exams, then definitely you make sure that you go through this with me very well in that case. So when it comes to the strategic case study exams, the first thing we ask ourselves is, okay, how do we pass the strategic case study exams? That is the main thing here, how to pass the strategic case study examination. The first thing we need to look at is the structure of the exams. The structure of the exam. So what is the structure of the exams? The exams is generally divided into 4 key categories. We have what we call the strategic management issues. That is going to be 40% of the syllabus. This is where we're going to largely going to be talking about the various models coming in at the end of the day. So that is about 40% in the exams. Then we're going to have the business plan. Yes, the examiner may ask you to prepare a business plan in the exam hall, because it's one of the issues that you need to understand there. And again, we've shared this with you already. If you are learning and directly under my mentorship for case study, we have a sample of the business plan and then the pro forma of the business plan. Generally, when the examiner asks you to prepare the business plan, you are going to be using the information provided to you, the environmental analysis that you did, any computations that is in the question that you did. That means in such questions, the examiner may ask us to look at prepare a forecast cash flow statement or forecast financial statement, and that will be featured in our business plan in that case. So you're going to have the title of the business plan, you're going to have your table of contents coming up. Introduction is very critical, you must bring that up. Then executive summary, this is where you're going to briefly talk about what the report is about, what you are trying to look out for in that particular case. Then you come to the body of your business plan. That is going to be very critical, because here you're going to be bringing in your business analysis results. So from the question, you're going to be doing SWOT analysis, you're going to be doing the macro environmental analysis. All that is going to be there. Any competitor analysis, maybe there was a competitor or there is a competitor that we need to look out for. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the strategies that the competitor is implementing? We need to know about all of those things as an organization. Then the management summary, who are our managers? What are their background? What are their expertise? All these must be included in our body. Then the financial performance. This is where we're going to bring a summarized financial information. It could be income statement, statement of financial position, statement of cash flow. It's usually going to be a forecast cash flow at the end of the day, or forecast profit or loss, forecast financial position. So basically, in the business plan aspect, all these things are going to be there. Your market analysis: what is the size of the market? What is the segment of the market? Is the market growing? What are the challenges what are the challenges in the market that we have available? Are there any threats that the entire market, the entire industry is facing that we need to be on the lookout for? So that is also going to be part of your body if you are doing or writing out the business plan. And then certainly conclusion and recommendation. Like I said, we have thoroughly explained this already, but it is one of the key issues that is going to be coming up there. So the strategic management issues, then we come to the business plan, then we come to the financial objectives and strategies. There is going to be something about that. We're going to dive into this. And then most importantly, whether I like it or not, there is going to be something relating to corporate governance and ethics. Definitely, there's going to be something relating to corporate governance and ethics that the examiner is going to be throwing at you. So you must know about that as well. And we're going to dive deeper into that as we expand our discussion relating to this one. So these are the 4 key issues. These are the 4 key areas, or these are the 4 key structure that we must understand when it comes to our strategic case study examination. As you may be aware already, this is going to be a 3-hour paper, definitely. And so it's not that because it's a case study, it will be more than 3 hours, but it's going to be 3 hours. Pass mark is still going to be 50%. Broadly, we expect that you're going to have 2 questions of 50 marks each. So the question A, or the question 1, is largely going to be based on the pre-scene that is going to be broad, and you're going to be having 50-mark question coming in there. And then question B, or the second question, is going to be other aspects that you must understand in that case. And each of the questions will be 50 marks. Now, that doesn't mean you have 1 question and 50 marks. So under the question 1, you may have A, B, C, D. Okay, something like that, AI, BI, but at the end of the day, that question is going to be over 50 marks, and you will have 10 marks relating to something, 10 marks relating to something, 5 marks relating to something, 3 marks relating to something, because the examiner tries as much as possible to cover all the 4 key issues that we need to understand when it comes to dealing with strategic case study. I hope that makes sense to you. So that is the structure of our exams when it comes to strategic case study. Then, like I mentioned, the second part is to look at business strategy. Now, definitely you're going to be covering issues about business strategy here, because this is where the key models that you need to look out for is going to be coming in. This comes from the first structure of the syllabus, which is the strategic management issues. The first part of that is the business strategy. So this is where you're going to be asking questions such as what are the mission of the organization? We'll get into this in a moment. Then you're going to be using various models like the PISTOL model for macro environmental analysis, Porter's 5 forces for environmental or competitive analysis, then the Porter's diamond for the issue about globalization and also assessing why a company is more profitable or it's more competitive on the global markets than another company if they are in the same industry but located in different countries. Then we're going to look at the organizational structure and definitely the issue about the management. So that is business strategy. Definitely there is going to be a question about business strategy in the exam hall because that is the first part of the syllabus. Like I mentioned here, the strategic management issues. It's going to be very critical and we must know about that very well there. Then we come to risk. Chances are there will be something relating to risks in the exam hall, and companies are exposed to various types of risks. Now, again, if you are learning under my mentorship, we've looked at this already, the concept of risk management. 3 things generally you must understand: the issue about how we identify the risks, assessing the impact of the risks, and then finding ways and means to mitigate or reduce the risks or eliminate the risks to an acceptably low level at the end of the day. And the company is exposed to various types of risks. We have credit risks, we have liquidity risks, we have market risks, we have demand risk, all types of risks that the entity is exposed to, and you must understand how these risks impact on the organization, and most importantly, how the organization can either eliminate or reduce the risks to an acceptably low level in that regard. So that is also going to be a critical area that we must look out for when it comes to dealing with identification of risks, assessing the impact of the risks, and then finding ways and means to mitigate the risks or reduce the risks to an acceptably low level. Then, like I mentioned to you earlier, ethics is going to be a huge aspect of our exams. Definitely, there is a question on ethics waiting for you in the exam also. The fundamental code of ethics, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior, issues about integrity, confidentiality. These are the fundamental codes of ethics. Then you must understand the threats that the business is exposed to generally at the end of the day. So if you are a good student in the ethics class, you know that the professional accountant is exposed to various types of risks at the end of the day, and that is familiarity threats, the intimidation threat, the self-interest threat, the self-review threat, and also advocacy threat at the end of the day. So ethical issues, you must understand that, you must go over that, and you must make sure you get a concept very well, because how is the examiner going to be asking the question? That is the main thing you ask yourself. As you read the pre-scene, you must identify, are there any ethical issues that I need to take into consideration? Is the accountant, is management, is if there is an auditor in the question, is the auditor exposed to any threats to independence that we have to think about? So as you are reading the pre-scene, you must ask yourself, are there any ethical issues that I need to consider? Or when you get to the exam hall and the unseen is added, how am I going to, are there any ethical issues that I'm going to consider? Because definitely about 99.9% of the time, there is going to be something relating to ethics that we need to understand in that case. Then the fundamental code of ethics, I've already run you through that. We must understand them very well. Then we come to the financial strategy. This is where your financial management knowledge comes to bear. Okay, so the things you learn it in financial management, and Nhyira didn't do financial management. You lie, you did it. If you did an MBA, MSc, MQC, or whatever the heck, or you did regular financial management in level 2, the knowledge there, sources of finance, cost of capital, management of working capital, investment appraisal, all these are issues that we must understand when it comes to dealing with the financial strategies. And there are risks here that the entity must identify and find out how it can mitigate the risks to an acceptably low level. So that is a huge aspect as well that the examiner may throw some jab at us that we must make sure we understand. Then certainly the issue about governance at the end of the day, because governance is very fundamental when it comes to strategic case study and when it comes to corporate organizations. So we must understand the symptoms of poor corporate governance if we are going into the exam hall. So the symptoms of poor corporate governance, you know them already. Single dominance of the board is a symptoms. Lack of transparency is a symptoms. Inefficiency, internal controls is a symptoms of poor corporate governance. Lack of scrutiny of financial statement is a symptoms of poor corporate governance as well. In that case, then non-existence of audit committee and internal audits can also be a symptoms of poor corporate governance that we need to know about. So you must know all the symptoms of poor corporate governance. So as you read the precinct, as you read your case, you must identify and ask yourself, what are the governance issues in this question? Then you must understand the role of the CEO and then the role of the board chairman, because to enhance good corporate governance, the role of the CEO and the board chairman must be splitted, right? Must be separated into two at the end of the day. And so we must understand how that is supposed to be treated at the end of the day. And the role of the CEO is an executive director, and the board chairman is a non-executive director. And we must understand the role of non-executive directors in enhancing that an entity has a good corporate governance. In other words, the entity is properly directed and controlled. But narrowing that down, we need to find out about the OECD framework for corporate governance. So you must know about the OECD corporate governance, because the examiner can specifically state that you should explain the principles of corporate governance as per the OECD. Very, very important there. Then we have the UK Corporate Governance Code. This is for listed companies in the United Kingdom. It's a corporate governance code they are supposed to adhere to, and this is issued by the Financial Reporting Council in the United Kingdom, and companies that are listed on the London Stock Exchange market are supposed to are required to adhere to these general principles. Note that corporate governance code are not legal necessarily. I mean, they are just general principles that you must follow. Only that most of the issues are supported in various acts, various laws, and hence the breach of them may result into an action in court and may result into either an imprisonment, a fine, or something like that on the organization. So according to the UK governance code, we're going to have board leadership, all these things there. But most importantly, the Security and Exchange Commission of Ghana has developed a corporate governance code for listed companies. And you can download this document. You can just Google it, the Security and Exchange Commission of Ghana Corporate Governance Code. They issued this in 2020, and you can read the Corporate Governance Code and that is really related to Ghana. And I think the Bank of Ghana too is working to develop some corporate governance code for the financial institution. I don't know. I need to confirm whether they are done or whether that thing is an issue. But we have corporate governance code for listed companies that they must adhere to. So you can download that document and then read about it at the end of the day. Because when it comes to the corporate governance principles, you don't know what the examiner can ask you about. The examiner can ask you of the OECD. The examiner can ask you about the UK Corporate Governance Code, because these are internationally accepted ones, because the Ghana's corporate governance code was developed with inspiration from the UK Corporate Governance Code and the OECD Corporate Governance Code. So the examiner has the liberty to ask you any of them. And if the examiner asks you any of them, chances are your knowledge from the others, when you write it out, they are actually going to be netted out generally at the end of the day. But that is the issue about corporate governance, because corporate governance generally is about how an entity is directed and controlled generally. So that is the structure generally that we need to understand about what the syllabus covers at the end of the day. If you are getting some value, give me a thumbs up on the video, and then comment in the comment section any questions you have for me, something you would want me to share my thought on. Let me know if you would want me to have a session on the precinct discussion, definitely with you, or share my thought on some of the modules with you. You can put it in the comment section, and let's see how that will go. If we get more requests, maybe we may consider having a session for strategic case study relating to that. So generally, 2 weeks to the exams, the examiner is going to give you what we call the advanced material or the pre-syn. This is going to cover between 8 to 11 pages, depending on how excited the examiner is. And the purpose of the pre-syn is, number one, for you to identify the industry that a company operates in. So you must ask yourself, what industry is it? Is it hospitality and tourism? Is it finance industry? Is it retail? Is it manufacturing? What industry is the company in? Is it the automobile sector? What industry is the company in? You must make sure you understand the industry that a company is in. What are the regulations in that particular industry? We must understand all that. So the issue here is that once the pre-syn is given to you and you read the pre-syn and you understand the industry the company is in, then you have to identify you go to Google and read more about the industry to find out what are some of the current developments in the industry. The reason is that, you see, the pre-syn is an open check. There is no questions attached to it. And from the pre-syn, there are a lot of questions that the examiner can ask you. But in the exam, the examiner can limit the questions to a certain set of questions at the end of the day. So what you need to do in order to increase your chances of passing the examination is to gather as much knowledge as you can about the industry, identify the problems in the industry, some challenges in the industry, and how the industry is segmented and all that. So you must understand the industry that the company is in. That is why competitive analysis, and issue about the macro environmental analysis, the PEFA Framework, and issue about the so the macro environment, the competitive analysis must be known as well, because we want to understand the external environment of the organization. Then in the pre-syn also, we will know about the company itself. Is it big? Is it a small company? How is the company structured? What is the culture that the company has in place? What are the governance issues? In the pre-syn, you must understand all that. Are there any ethical challenges we need to look out for? Is the company facing some working capital challenges? What are the financing structure of the company? Who are the managers of the company? Does it have a good corporate governance system in place or policy in place? All these things we must identify and ask ourselves in the pre-syn. Then third, who are the key stakeholders of the company? Because remember, in strategic evaluation, one of the key principles about strategy evaluation is about acceptability. Whether the strategy selected will be acceptable to the key stakeholders of the entity. So we need to understand that. Then finally, we need to understand how the entity creates value at the end of the day. And so in doing that, we need to carry out some internal appraisal. This is where SWOT analysis comes in. So we identify the strategic capacity of the entity. Then definitely we need to do PEFA Framework, Porter's 5 forces. I've already mentioned that at the end of the day. So when the pre-syn is given to you, and as you are reading the pre-syn, you need to apply your PEFA. You need to do SWOT analysis. You may have to do an industry analysis using the Porter's 5 forces and other key models based on the way the pre-syn is going to be structured. So that is the first thing about your pre-syn, and you are going to be doing a lot of work. In the pre-syn, if there are some calculations in there, then definitely if it's about performance, historical financial statement, then you may be calculating some ratios so you can evaluate the financial performance and position of the entity. If it is not about historical information and it's about a forecast information, then you have to be thinking about preparation of forecast financial statements, forecast cash flows, forecast document for the entity. Then in that case, you should know that in the exam, the examiner is likely to ask you about preparation of the business plan. Does that make sense? Then the examiner is likely to ask you about the preparation of the business plan. That is very critical. That is very basic. And that is something you need to understand in that case. So in the pre-syn, these are the few things that you must make sure you understand. What industry is the company in? What are the problems facing the industry? What are the challenges the industry is facing? Then the organization represented in the case study. How big are they? Who are the managers? What is the governance? Are there any ethical issues? Is the company facing some financial challenges? What are the efficiency and effectiveness of the internal controls of the company? So you're going to be doing those framework, and then you prepare your SWOT analysis in that case. Then you find out, are there any computational issues that I have to deal with? It could be ratios, it could be budget preparation, and you do that as well. So that is the issue about your pre-syn. Then you come to the key modules. as well that you need to understand. The first module is the Anchorage module. This is for identifying the main component in a mission statement of an organization. And the mission statement should have the purpose, the value, the strategy, the policy, and the standard of behavior. Then you're going to do environmental analysis, like I mentioned earlier. In doing the environmental analysis, we have the macro environments. That's where you're going to be using the PEFA framework. You're going to be using the Porter's 5 forces, or what we call the strategic group analysis. Then in the international competitive analysis, you're going to be using the Porter's diamond usually for international competitive analysis. Then for internal environmental analysis, you must use the resource audit, which is the MS model. Then you must also do SWOT analysis, which is the identification of the strategic capacity of the organization. I hope you are getting the build up at the end of the day. Then, still in the internal environment, we may be required to look at value creation, and so you must understand value chain analysis. Then, problem analysis using the issue about brainstorming. It's something that you need to understand there. Then, after the macro and external environment, the environmental analysis, both internal and the external, we come to performance measurement. So in performance measurement, you're going to be looking at issues like the balance scorecard, gap analysis, okay? Then the Fitzgerald and Moon building block. The idea here is that the balance scorecard doesn't consider environmental issues. For that reason, in line with the balance scorecard is what we call the triple bottom line. So another framework for managing or looking at the organization's performance is the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line, where we are looking at the 3 P's: profitability or profit, planet, and then people. So because the balance scorecard doesn't consider external environmental issues, the triple bottom line looks at environmental issue. How responsible is the entity on the environment? And certainly profitability is just like the financial perspective, and then the people who have to do with the various stakeholders. Then another limitation of the balance scorecard is that it may not be usable for service organizations. Okay, so service organizations may have problem using it. Hence the Fitzgerald and Moon building block, where we look at the standards, we look at rewards, we look at dimensions. It starts with dimensions. Then we set standards, then we can have the reward system in place, and you must make sure you understand very well. Like I said, we explained this extensively in our discussion in class as well there. Then we come to key modules for specific scenarios. And the first one is the Porter's generic strategy. So if an entity wants to gain competitive advantage, then according to Michael Porter, it must decide to choose one of the 2 options available. It must decide to either be a cost leader or be a differentiation. A cost leader is being the lowest producer or the lowest seller in the markets that we are in as an organization. And then the differential strategy is where you decide to be the la creme, and you focus on a niche or a segment of the market at the end of the day. So that is the Porter's generic model. There are 4 strategies generally available, divided into 2. Either you are being a cost leadership strategy, or you are doing differentiation at the end of the day. So that is the difference between Toyota and then Rolls-Royce. For instance, Toyota adopts or is using the cost leadership strategy because, Toyota want to get their cars to everywhere across the globe, especially in Africa, part of Asia, and then South America there. They want to get their cars there because, and it's cheaper at the end of the day. That is why you see a lot of Toyota cars on the street. But then companies like Rolls-Royce, they use the differential strategy because it's la creme de la creme. They produce high-end vehicle to a selected few people. If you don't have money, don't come here. That is why you hardly see the Rolls-Royce, unless otherwise you are living in the Beverly Hills, or you are living in California or some wealthy community across the globe, then definitely you're not going to be seeing these luxurious vehicles. You're going to be seeing, especially if you're in Ghana here, you're going to see issues like the Toyotas, the Kia, what else? Toyota, Kia, the Nissan, the Honda, because these people are using what's the cost leadership strategy at the end of the day. Then shopping companies like ShopRite, they also pride themselves to be the lowest seller at the end of the day because they use the cost leadership strategy there. So it depends on the mission of the organization. Note that the kind of strategy to be adopted by the entity depends on the mission of the entity. So if the mission of the entity is to produce affordable products to everybody, then that is a cost leadership strategy. But if the mission of the company is to produce a luxurious products to people, then it means we are going to be dealing with the issue about the la creme de la creme, hence a differential strategy in that case. Then an extension of the Porter's generic is the strategic clock. So the strategic clock is just an evolution, or we call it an extension of the Porter's generic model. And this was developed by Cliff Bowman and David Falker. The idea is that they said, hey, the way you price your product generally, it depends on two things. It depends on the perceived value that customers have on your products at the end of the day, and then the price that you charge. So if the price you charge and the perceived value don't match, customers are going to, you're going to fail as an organization. The reason is that if customers perceive what you are selling or what the entity is selling as a high value, then you can charge a high price and there will not be an issue. But if the customers perceive what you are selling or what the entity is selling as a low value, then certainly we have to charge low price to become successful at the end of the day. And that is a strategic clock, also just an extension of the Porter's generic. Then we have appraisal of key strategic products and service development models. There's a product life cycle. There's a Boston consulting group, the BCG Metrics. That is a product portfolio analysis where we identify, it is used where an entity sells more than one product or offers more than one service at the end of the day, or does more than one thing. Because if like a university renders various courses, they could do or offer various courses. They could do business courses, they could do architecture, they could do something relating to graphic design, they could do something relating to whatever the heck, political science. These are all courses they do. So maybe the university want to find out which of these courses really gives us more money, which of these courses have potential, and which of these courses may we have to stop offering as a university or as an educational institute. So that is where the BCG metrics comes in. So when an entity is selling more than one product or offering more than one services, then we would have to use the Boston Consulting Group to identify which one is the cash cow, which one is the problem child, which one is a dog, and which one is a star at the end of the day. So that is a product portfolio matrix. Then these ones are things I discussed in class with our students. Then we have the directional policy matrix. This is developed by Shell, McKinsey, and then General Electric. It's an extension of the issue in relation to the BCG metrics. So whilst the BCG metrics looks at two bases, let me take you back to see. The BCG metrics looks at two issues: our market share as compared to the market's growth. So what is the market share we have? And then how is the market growing? Is the market growing or market is reducing? That is the criteria for classifying the products using the BCG metrics. But then in the McKinsey and GE matrix, we are going to be using the business unit strength. In other words, the strategic capacity of our company as compared to the attractiveness of the industry. And so that is the distinction between the two at the end of the day, and you must know about that pretty well. Then we have the Anchorage portfolio display. This is used in acquisitions and merger arrangements. We have to identify, is it a ballast, is it a heartland, is it a value trap, or is an alien business as well in that case. Then the Ansoff matrix. This one is used when an entity is seeking to expand, grow, and increase its market share. And there are two criteria that we use here. We want to find out the risks associated with the what the thing we are doing, and then what kind of markets are we in at the end of the day. So we have the market penetration, we have the market development, we have the product development, we have diversification. The idea is that market penetration means you are taking your existing products to existing markets. So you do more advertisement so that you can dominate more in the markets that you are operating in as an organization. Then market development means you are taking your product to a new market. So maybe you sell your product only in Ghana. Now you are selling in Nigeria. That is market development. You are selling in Togo. That is market development. You are selling in China. That is market development. Or you are selling your product just in Accra. Opening a new branch in Tamale is market development. Opening a new branch in Kumasi is market development. Then we have product development. This is where you develop a new product and take it to your existing market. So let's say, for instance, we are selling whatever. Let's say we are selling condoms. So we are a condom manufacturing company, or we sell condom. So to our customers that we sell condoms to, we develop a new product, maybe sanitary pad. So for instance, Nhyira Premium sanitary pad. So that new product will be sold to the same customers who buy the condom from us at the end of the day. And that is the product development strategy. Then diversification is where we enter into a new market. And so the risks for product development and diversification are very high because they require a lot of market research, they require a lot of funding, they require a lot of technical knowledge, and they require a lot of human capital or human resources at the end of the day. But then market penetration and market development may have a lower risk at the end of the day. That is the issue about the unsolved growth. Then the next thing we look at is the corporate parenting styles. I mean, this is to look at the relationship that exists between a parent company and its subsidiary, or a head office and its strategic business unit. And there are three parenting styles that can be used. Then we come to the international strategic choice. This is where we look at management orientation for international strategic. We have the ethnocentric, the geocentric, the polycentric, the regiocentric as well at the end of the day. Then you come to integration and metrics. Then stages of globalization, reasons why companies want to go global. That is another issue there. Then you come to strategy, evaluation, and implementation. Very, very important. So when it comes to strategy evaluation, the first thing is suitability. The strategy must be suitable. It means it must have a strategic fit. Then acceptability, key stakeholders must accept the strategy. Then feasibility, is it something we can actually do at the end of the day as a company? So here, this is where we do both qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Then as you are implementing the strategy, one of the tools that you're going to be using is also going to be the MS module, where you look at the various things that you deal with. Remember I told you about the MS module and the internal evaluation. That is going to be applicable also here. Then when it comes to the strategy implementation, the successful implementation of strategy will be based on the issue about the McKinsey 7S model, the McKinsey 7S model. This is where we look at the 7 key things that are required in order to successfully implement the strategies of an organization. And that is also going to be something that we need to understand there. So basically, when it comes to dealing with strategic case study, these are the things that you need to understand about strategic case study. These are the key things you must understand when it comes to dealing with strategic case study. And like I said, it's a broad area. It's a lengthy area. Now, there are certainly some other modules. What I've discussed with you and what I've gone through with you is about 95% of the of what you are going to be expecting. So everything I've discussed with you is about 95% of the general thing that you are going to be expecting in the exam hall. And there could be some other modules. Yeah, there are certain other modules that I've not mentioned. There is what we call the TARA framework for risk assessment. We also have some other modules that are available. But generally, these are some fundamental modules that you must know in order for you to go into the exam hall. And if you are learning under my mentorship, we have treated all of these things, and we are currently looking at the financial strategies, which On Saturday, we will be concluding around it as we wait for the case study coming up, the pre-scene coming up for us to discuss at the end of the day. So that is what you must understand about strategic case study. My final recommendation to you is that make sure you read the case study very well, have your own understanding, and make sure you understand it. There is going to be a lot of information flowing around, being sent around relating to the pre-scene, but it is not about how much information you have. It's about how you understand the pre-scene, because you won't take the pre-scene document, your analysis, to the exam hall. You're not going to be allowed to take it to the exam hall. But then you must have your own understanding, so that when you go to the exam hall, whatever question the examiner asks you, you can answer it. So please, there will be a lot of information flowing around. There will be a lot of documents that will be going around on the pre-scene. Don't just be after the documents, document from Kofi, document from Ama, document from Yao, document from Ajua, document from this. Then just a pre-scene, you have like 17 documents. How will you read all of these 17 documents? Make sure you understand the case for yourself. Do your pistol, do your SWOT analysis, do your POTES, 5 forces, and any other framework that you see will be represented in the exam, and understand the case for yourself. Then the financial perspective, identify what is there and do your calculations, and make sure you understand the question for yourself, because in the exam hall, the question by the examiner can vary a lot. And the only way you can succeed in the case study is if by yourself you understand the case study well, so that whatever question the examiner asks you, you can write something at the end of the day. This is what you must understand about strategic case study. Put in the comment section any questions you have for me, and let me know what you would want me to share my thought on this lengthy modules in case study, and even the pre-scene, if you want us to have some sessions for me to walk you through and share some thought with you on that. Thank you very much for joining us and watching this video, and I'll catch you some other time as we continue with our discussion. Remember, you can check the playlist on the channel relating to governance and ethics on the channel, and there are videos on some of these modules that you can watch on the channel for you to be able to pass the examination. But if you are studying directly under my mentorship and you enroll in our full course on our portal, then definitely there are videos, and we've gone through all of these modules in class, and there are videos relating to them as well that you can watch the playback to make sure you understand this very well. So we meet again, wishing you all the best in the case study, and remember to read it and understand it for your own self. Bye-bye.